is Jesus is saying, but it's much more than that. The most intimate act between a man and a woman, a groom and his bride, is the act of sexuality. There couldn't be anything more intimate. And Jesus is making it clear, but this is not just about me preparing you for ministry so you can go out there and knock them dead. We are in this together. He's about to say to Peter, if I don't wash your feet, then we have no part in each other. Which is almost like saying, if I don't wash your feet, we can't make love. We can't come together and be one, and there will be no fruit. This is a serious thing, Peter. It's not just about authority. You're not just the first pope. This is about knowing me and being intimate with me, because that's my heart's desire. We have to, I think, always remember, Jesus could have done this whole thing by himself like that. Stop and think about it, because, so often we're kind of like on our ministry kick, and the truth is, he could have wrapped up the whole show. This could have been done 2,000 years ago. What he's doing now with us is revealing his love in such a powerful way to the people all around us. Let's continue on, though. Verse 6, we get Peter's question. Peter's got to ask a question or we can't go any. How are we going to learn anything without Peter asking questions?
So he came to Simon Peter. He said to him, Lord, do you wash my feet?
So he came to Simon Peter, which makes it clear Peter wasn't the first one getting his feet washed. Peter's sitting around watching the foot washing. And then he comes to Peter, and Peter questions the activity. And I want to tell you, it sounds so right. I would venture to say that if Jesus was in this room in a physical body and form right now, and came in with a basin and decided he was going to start washing our feet, somebody would say, no, you're not supposed to do that. It should be the other way around. Jesus knows the way we think about hierarchy, because that's really what's behind what Peter is saying. This is really about hierarchy. You're supposed to rule over us. Isn't that what this is about? You're the ruler over us. Quite frankly, Jesus knows that no, you've got it so wrong. But he doesn't rebuke Peter that way. You see, this idea you're supposed to rule over us, you got to think from Peter's perspective. He's actually implying others are going to serve me because I'm the leader, right? That's what happens. Leaders get served. Steve comes in the room, he's the leader, so they're all here to serve him, right? Isn't that the way it works? And Steve's going, no. He says things like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. You have the power and authority to reveal whatever merit and measure of love that you have. Your call, not mine. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not your boss. And the way I'm leading is by love, by example, because I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't want to see anybody be frustrated and all that. But the bottom line, Mary, is like you say, but what is God saying? Because ultimately that's what it's about. What is God saying? You see, Peter has a kind of he's implying or inferring almost. He's looking at his future. And he's looking at Jesus, they serve him. I'm the next man in line. They serve me. Because that's the way the world system works. Jesus' system is not of this world. It doesn't mean that we don't, honor the Lord by any means. It's not what we're talking about. But Peter has a view of the future and power that Jesus is going to sort out. That our future, it is about power, but it's about the power of humility to serve. That's what he's about. He is about serving, not being served. He even makes the statement, I didn't come to be served, but to give you an example that what true happiness, true life, true love is all about is serving. Now, I'm very blessed to say that as I look around the room, I see people here that are servants, so it's kind of like preaching to the choir here. But we're just talking about a passage, and we're trying to see how Jesus sorted out our human thinking about things. And where we see humility as a sign of weakness, the Word of God says humility comes before honor. In other words, the honor you're looking for will come as you humble yourself. And that's where the power is in humility. The only way Jesus could go through what he went through was because he so loved the world that he laid down his life. He humbled himself, like Paul says, and he was obedient to death, even death on the cross. Isaiah says he poured out his soul. He wasn't taking interviews. Jesus, what do you think about this? He probably would have said things, I think this is great. I get to show mankind the epitome of God's love for them. I can't think of anything greater. This is wonderful. But Jesus is it's not costing me anything. Maybe a little time. My life is not my own. You see, we think of power, and we've mentioned a bunch of different P's. Prestige, possessions, position, personality, privilege. I think the most powerful one that screws us up the most is pride, because it is such a subtle little villain in our lives. We've said things to this point in the past about, secure yourself. You're not like the others. Separate yourself when it comes to exercising your own power. It's for you to take care of yourself. You're not like the others, this whole thing. I don't know if you remember, but last week, I didn't say anything about it, but it was in the parable. There was one point when the complainers said to the owner, guy that put them to work in his vineyard, when payday came, the pay time came, they said to him, "You have made them equal to us," which is a powerful statement. You have made them equal to us. That's a statement of pride. It's a real saying that, but we're not equal. I'm this, they're that. There's all this separation, and that's what is part of the perversion of power. And here, behind Peter's statement about washing his feet, why didn't he complain when he washed the first one? If you think about it, he's already, I don't know how many he's washed, but then he came to Peter. So even if it was just one, shouldn't Peter have been jumping up and saying, "Hey, wait a minute"? But all of a sudden he comes to Peter. Stop and think. He comes to Peter, and now Peter's objecting, because indirectly he is looking at Jesus and saying, "This is my model. I think something's wrong here. Are you telling me I'm going to be washing feet instead of people washing mine?" Now we can laugh about that, but if you've been around church for any length of time, you've been around people, a lot of them in leadership position. I've never been in a service. It's always been like Jesus said here, wash one another's feet, which is true. But what he demonstrates here as a leader, washing people's feet, and he says, do this. I mean, it's in the same chapter where he talks about having communion. My question, I do wonder, why do we, do the communion thing? Some churches every week, some once a month. I mean, we've got that thing nailed. And we've blown by foot washing like it wasn't even in the chapter. And yet, he says, do this. I don't know. Verse 7. Would you read verse 7, Russ?
Jesus answered and said to him, "What I do, you do not realize now, but you shall understand hereafter."
And so Jesus, it's hard in the English to really totally get it, but your translation there was good. He's actually talking about 2 steps to knowing and 2 levels of knowing, if you would. The first one, he's talking about, understanding. You actually see what's going on. Oh, I can see that Jesus is washing people's feet. I understand what he's doing. I can tell you what he's doing. He's washing people's feet. I see it. I know it. It's the same Greek word that John uses in that very first verse that I had you read a couple times. He knew where he was going. He knew where he came from. So he had been there. He saw it. He understood that place. The second time is a different Greek word, which implies complete understanding. In other words, I see what he's doing, but I know why he's doing it, what it actually means, and I'm actually coming into relationship. The word means to come into relationship, and that's how you come to know. In Matthew 1:25, it says that Joseph took Mary to be his wife, but he didn't know her until after Jesus was born. And that's the second one. In other words, he's having an intimate relationship with her by spending time with her every day. This relationship is growing and growing and growing until ultimately, after Jesus is born, he fully knows her, he has sexual relationships with her. So he knows her, he's interacted to that level. You had asked last week, "Depart from me, I never knew you," from Matthew 7. It's the same word. In other words, what it means is not a matter of I didn't know your name. What he's saying is we never had the interaction of intimacy that would warrant us knowing each other. In other words, he knows the people who comes before him, but he doesn't really know them because all they were out there doing was working for him, kind of thing, which really they weren't working for him at all. They were working for themselves. They never knew him. They never spent time with him. There's a link between the 2 knowings, between the observing and seeing and understanding what's happening. I could see he's washing feet, to the intimate part of it, which is what Jesus is going to reveal to them. Aaron, would you read 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 3?
But if anyone loves God, this one is known by him.
Which is going along with your Matthew 7. If anyone loves God, is in that intimate relationship with God, this one is known by God. Jesus is letting Peter know, look, I know that this is what's happening is, out of the box for you. I get that. And you're seeing right now. But you will come to the point where you'll know. So he's actually almost like prophesying to him. You are going to more than get this, you're going to do it, and then you'll know what's going on.